All right, we're back, and it's COMP391, and it's week 12, lesson 12, part 1, and we're going to talk about some software stuff. So let's look at some things. We talked about a 3D pipeline at one point, and about what to combine as an example to when we do AAA games or games in general, right? Even things like simple 2D games. You want some kind of pipeline of tools that you use to go from a graphic or design aspect into, your game, full game engine, right? So again, I would direct you to Autodesk, right, .com for education. And if you notice, here's Autodesk for Education. They have some free software that you can certainly download. There's different packages, and this is the really cool thing about looking. If I was going to download a package, and if I was you, and by the way, this is all educational software, so it's good to download for learning purposes. If you're going to develop something to sell, then obviously you'd have to get the paid-for version. But the great thing about this is if you download the Entertainment Creation Suite Ultimate, right? It says for designers, architects, and engineers. And this one is for, if you notice, it's all the same people, right? It comes with this one here, and this is the one I wanted to download for school. Right, this package here, the Entertainment Creation Suite. I would recommend you download this one for yourself, right? So Maya, 3D Studio Max, Softimage. Softimage is not necessary, right? Because it's been support for its waning. It's going to go away, right? But you get Motion Builder and Modbox, and these different products. If I was to actually look at the software, so let me look at all the software here. For example, if I was to go in here. So let's just look at the products just really briefly because we're talking about it, right? So if I go to the Entertainment Creation Suite, what do you get, right? You can certainly, this is where you download it, right? So this is where you come and grab the Entertainment Creation Suite, which I recommend, right? But if I was going to look at something like what is Maya? So we know if I was going to go to Maya, what is it? Again, 3D animation software. That's really what it's for, and it helps us do modeling as well. If you want to do models, Maya is a great way to do some, modeling for meshes, lighting. It does support animation and so on, and it's more professional in many ways. Has a lot more features than Blender, right? If I go to 3D Studio Max, again, it's 3D modeling and animation and rendering and compositing. For games primarily and motion graphics, that's what it's for really. It does a lot of support. They say they have support for DirectX 11 shaders. Now DirectX 12 is on the rise with Windows 10. That's going to be an update pretty soon. But more or less than anything, it's that pipeline. And again, you can switch between 3D Studio Max and Maya. Those two pieces of software, that's where you start off. Maybe with Blender as well. You might want to do Blender for a bit. And then bring that information bring that information right into Unity. So if I was to go to the Unity store, right, as an example, here's Unity. And again, this is what we're going to be talking about next day. We're going to get into Unity 5. So I recommend you download Unity 5, right? Now again, there's Unity 5 for education, which is what we're going to be doing. And it gives you, it's truly a game engine. It's not like how we've been doing so far with Blender. Blender's not native game engine. Blender does a lot of things, right? Blender is almost like putting Maya, 3D Studio Max, and Unity all into one. That's what it is, right? So it kind of does a lot of things pretty good, and you can do some really good things with it. But from a professional perspective, we don't use, more often than not, studios don't use Blender for their thing, right? So Unity is the way to go. Another one, if you're really into gaming and stuff like that, you want to learn for your career. We're not going to cover this because we can only do Unreal game engine, right? If I was to download Unreal, right? And this is from these guys. This software here, right, is basically I would say this is definitely a good competitor for from an open source perspective for free. Compared to Unity. Now the great thing about Unity is it uses C#, so we know C#, we're learning C# in class. I like both interfaces, I'll be honest with you. I like both the Unreal interface and the Unity interface. they talk about how you can get it for free and that you pay a 5% royalty on games and applications you release, right? So it's always 5%. That's all the time. That's pretty big. Some people don't like that. That's how big it is, right? 5%. Whereas Unity is free for the first bunch of thousands. I think it's the first 100,000, and then afterwards you get to pay royalties. So, hey, you know what? If I make $100,000 in game sales and I pay royalties after that, I'm good to go. I'm fine, right? But either way, for a young indie developer or whatever, either one of these tools is great. But the pipeline is there. The pipeline to move us in from some kind of modeling or design software, right? And again, there's other ancillary tools. Like you still should know how to use Photoshop. I'll be honest with you. You need to know some kind of graphic manipulation software. As part of your skill set, you should know how to do those things. And it doesn't have to be that you're going to be a designer, but you should know about them. I'm not saying that you guys are all designers at all, any of you, right? And we're in the programming side of the house. We're on the developer side of the house. But you should understand 3D space, which is why we're doing this course, and you should understand design aspects. Just so that way, some designer gives you a model, you know how to do things with it. Right, so that's the idea. The great thing about Unity is if you want to learn, if you click on Unity Learn, which is what I'm going to ask you guys to do a little bit as well, is there's some really cool tutorials on Unity. If you click on tutorials here for Unity, right, they have a bunch of tutorials here on how to do stuff if you download the Unity engine, right? So I think this is a great place to start for you to learn Unity on your own, right? And they've got some really new ones, like this rollerball tutorial is really cool. It gives you some beginning kind of scripting. And if you notice, like if you look at the difficulty is beginner, right, for most of these. And then I don't recommend you going into something like this one here. This 2D roguelike tutorial is like heavy duty. This, even though it says intermediate, there's like a lot of stuff in there, a lot of scripting. And then this one, the procedural cave generation tutorial, is like huge. It's like really hard, right? So not to say this is bad. There's lots of other topics here they've got on the Unity page. And I'm telling you right now, if you're someone like me who likes to learn on their own, and they have different topics for interface and essentials to scripting, if I click on scripting, it talks about things like scripts as behavior components, variables and functions. They go into lots of little stuff here, and it's all free. It's all part of the Unity, universe, if you will, right? The ecosystem that they create here at Unity, right? So I think this is a really great start for you guys. Plus the stuff we're going to do next semester, I think you're going to have a great, way of using this stuff. Same thing with on the Autodesk side. So if you're on the Autodesk side, and if I want to learn and teach, like if I was going to learn stuff, they've got some really great examples of things that you can, how to tutorials and stuff like that are pretty much on the website. I want to see where that is here. I don't think it's here. This is just downloading the software. But there's some really cool tutorials you can download for Maya, from everything else. Maya and Autodesk, because Autodesk also does AutoCAD and other really like name brand or brand software out there. AutoCAD is like the de facto architectural program out there. They do both 2D and 3D drawings for both construction and engineering, right? That's what they use for AutoCAD, right? They have certification, so you can always get certified on your Autodesk product, whatever it is. That's a great thing to have, because it's almost like saying, I know how to use my tools. That's what it is. I'm not sure if there's a certification program for Unity or Unreal, because it's more of a game design, on the game design side. But again, I recommend, before we get together again in the fall, we're going to touch upon a little bit of Unity, but there's nothing wrong between semesters to pick up a little bit of tutorials, take a look at the Unity tutorials that we got here, start doing them on your own. Some of these only take about an hour, like, an hour of your time, and you learn a lot because it tells you how to kind of navigate through everything and how to do stuff. And I think it's a great start to understand how to use Unity. So that's all I want to say about that, but I think it's a great, we want to start talking about it because as we're entering the last part of our semester, we're into week 12, then we got to talk about that. Next week, what I want to do with you is do a little bit of review, talk about some of the stuff, wrap up some things that we talked about this half, and then when I get all your marks to you, I'd like to try and get all your marks to you next week. That'd be nice, right? And then finally talk about your exam, and then kind of do some one-on-one feedback about how you guys are doing, and if there's any issues, we want to deal with them before week 14. Because week 14 for me is going to be like a whirlwind, and then I'm going to be done, right? So I don't want to wait till 14 to talk to you, and then you only have you have no time. At least by week 13, if there's any adjustments we got to make together, we can meet and we can talk about these kind of things. Okay, so that's really that piece in a nutshell. Let's talk about what we worked on last day. But before I do that, I think what I want to do is I want to break this discussion off in a couple parts. And this one was almost like, hey, what do you need to know going forward for stuff, and what am I recommending for you for the fall? What should you download? Again, I'd highly recommend you download Unity 5 and get yourself your package. Get your Autodesk package, your Maya, your 3D Studio Max. Those two pieces of software, Maya and 3D Studio Max, require a pretty decent machine. Okay, just letting you know. So if your machine is crapolia, right, wait till the fall. Then you can at least use the machine in front of you, right? Because I'm going to install it on all the machines in the school. If your machine is fairly decent, it's got at least, let's say, I'm just going to put up some specs out here, 12 gigs of RAM, right? That's what I'm talking about, and a pretty decent video card, like a couple gig video card or something like that. You're going to be okay. The performance is going to be all right. If your video card is like a 1 gig video card or something less, and you've got 8 gigs of RAM, as an example, you'll still be okay, but there'll be times where it slows down a lot, right? If you do any advanced rendering, the stuff I'm talking about, don't even bother. You need a server, right? But when it comes to just basic operation, I think a good recommended amount is probably, if you can get 16 gig RAM on your system with an i7, a fairly modern new system, an SSD, right, so that your system fairly kicks ass in terms of speed. Even on a laptop, you're going to be good. You're going to be okay. So as much RAM as possible. That's my number one thing. And give yourself a lot of space on your hard drive, because some of these files are fairly large when we create them, right? So now, if you can't do it, you can't afford it, not possible, don't worry about it, because in the fall, Maya and 3D Studio Max is going to be on the machine in front of you, right? So on the school machine, right? So it's going to be okay. But if you can afford it, and if you can install it on your machine, I think that's the way to go. Any questions around this stuff? All right.